Hello, all. Very good afternoon to all the audiences, and thank you so much for joining us in this conference, SERI 2021. I'd like to welcome all the speakers. And we are very grateful to have them here on stage together. And this session is security and scale, volume and velocity, security pattern in cloud. It will be just to give a gist. It will be a total of 45 minute session in which our last 5 to 10 minutes will give to the audience. It will be dedicated to the audience to dispose all the questions they had in the chat box, which you can see on the right side of the screen. I'd like you all to please put relevant questions, be interactive to the speakers, because it's a very privileged. We are very privileged to have all these highly established speakers with us. So do put your questions there. Also, if anyone of you is interested in distributed security model, why, what matters now? So that is also an interesting session. We are running it in parallel. You can please join it on the other stage we have, that is main auditorium. So anyone interested in that, please go there. And audiences, please take this privilege of posting the question and widening your knowledge area. And first of all, we have very established and highly knowledgeable speakers with us. And I'll take this opportunity to welcome Professor Satish Kumar. He's an associate professor from IIT Roorkee, and he'll be moderating this session, that is security and scale, volume and velocity, security paradigm in cloud. Professor Satish Kumar, can we have him on stage? Hello,
Yep, thank you.
Professor. Welcome back to
Hi.
SERI, and thank you so much for joining us here in this conference. You'll be moderating this session, and with your permission, I'd like to introduce all the other
Please,
speakers of
please.
the panel. So I'd like to welcome Professor Gaurav Somani. He's Assistant Professor CSC in Central University, Rajasthan. Can I have Professor Gaurav Somani? Hello,
Hello,
Professor.
everyone. Yeah,
Welcome back. Welcome here on stage, sir.
thank you.
And, also, we have with us Dr. Sanjeet Kumar Nayak. He's Assistant Professor in IIIT Kalyani. Can we have him on stage, please? Hello,
Yeah, hi.
Professor. And also, we have Dr. Raj Kumar Buyya. He is Distinguished Professor and Director of Cloud Computer and Distributed Systems, that is Clouds, Laboratory, University of Melbourne, Australia. Can we have him on stage, please?
I think he will join in a couple of seconds. He's in the main stage and he's shifting. He's being shifted to this stage now. So
Okay, Professor. Professor Satish, now the stage is on you. You can. I'm handing it over to you. All the
great.
best, and
Thank
thank
you,
you.
thank you, Niharika, for like inviting all of us and giving me the chance to moderate this prestigious program. Yep.
Our pleasure, sir.
Yep.
It's all over to
So,
you, sir. Thank you.
I mean, meanwhile, Professor Rajkumar Buyya joins. I think we can start the program. Oh, yeah,
He's
he's
there.
already there. So, welcome, sir. So,
Welcome, Dr. Rajkumar, sir.
yep, great. So now all of us are there.
Yeah, I'll take your permission, sir. It's up to you, the stage. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. So yeah, welcome all of you to this panel. This is a wonderful panel. Particularly, we are proud to have Professor Rajkumar Buyya on the stage. And yeah, so yeah, so the idea is like the topic of today's panel discussion is security and scale, volume and velocity, security paradigm in cloud. So these are the perspectives that we are supposed to discuss today, and I'm happy to mention that all the speakers are experts in cloud computing and security domains, and all of them are excellent, speakers. So obviously, having very good people on the board will always give excellent, discussion, and that will be a big benefit for the participants who are joining this event. So yeah, just let me introduce the topic for just 1 2 minutes, and then we'll start the discussion. So, as application development is one of the biggest challenge in IT developments, and it is becoming so easy day by day, and everything is getting automated. And cloud computing is one of the excellent backend support, which is having a lot of like you know infrastructure platform, or like you know uh, 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 application development, or whatever you call it, like data storing of data. So slowly we are converging to a day where these days there is a big discussion going on in the IT industry, and many researchers and industrialists are looking into developing the code in such a way that there is a tag: low code, no code. So people are willing to design the systems in such a way that the developer's role is reduced, and as much as possible we wanted to automate the development process, application development process, so that it ends up in no code in the end. So this is the way with which we want to automate it, and this automation ends in excellent scaling up of several applications, and that scaling is really important in the coming time, as the technology adoption is increasing day by day. And the other aspect is uh, like growing of the data. So we all know that data is growing exponentially day by day in terms of streaming videos, social media, or IoT is coming up like anything, and exponentially IoT devices are growing, as well as data is also growing. So we need to deal with this data in more efficient manner. And this is another side of the scaling of the data. And so one aspect I discussed is application scaling. The other aspect I'm talking about is the data scaling. Okay, and these two are one aspects. And as data is not only just about scaling, but also about volumes of data. So volumes and volume management is also another challenging issue. So the other side, the network traffic and bandwidths are also increasing day by day. So number of transactions are also increasing day by day. This is the other side of the scaling aspect what we are talking about. So we need faster means of data storage, faster means of data analysis, and faster means of uh, processing the data, and so on. And in all these three aspects, volumes, scaling, are the major important things. And speed with which we want to do it, the velocity. These are the three important components that are actually very much linked with your cloud computing technologies. So in this three aspects, and well connected with cloud computing technologies, security of course is a major challenge. And 70% of the adopt entrepreneurs are not willing to adopt the cloud computing just because of security challenges. So keeping these aspects in mind, like scaling, security, volume, velocity. These are all different, corners of important aspects of cloud adoptions, and they are actually needed. So keeping all these backend inputs in mind, so I'll open the discussion to the forum now. Uh, like you know, uh, and of course, another aspect is blockchain also there, and blockchain is also important in this aspect. So keeping all these important aspects in mind, I just feel that for cloud, velocity, scalability, security, and volume, all these are all very important and equally important. So keeping these important points in mind, now I open the discussion on several concerns related to scaling, volume, velocity, securing of the cloud centric paradigm. And let me start the discussion with Professor Buyya. Uh, he has got a lot of experience working with cloud technologies, and yeah. So I request Professor Buyya to like start the discussion, and I have like couple of questions. Probably I'll introduce those questions to you, and we can have a like small discussion on each one. So, Professor Buyya, before I start anything, you want to say anything?
Yeah, so thank you. Yes, you have already made clear goal and the challenges in this field, especially the scale when massive amount of data is arriving at high volume or high velocity and massive
Right.
scale. Of course, in scalable systems, security is even more challenging because very difficult to find out at pinpoint where is the issue or where is the hole in the system or where are the security challenges in the infrastructure level at the data level which belong to the user. Then of course services are delivered by manipulating this data. So yeah, I look forward to having discussion around all these topics in the context of security and of course all the properties of cloud.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, sir. And Professor Sanjeet, you want to say anything before we start
Yes,
the discussion?
yeah. So rightly said by you, and you set the stage. Now we need different security mechanisms to secure the data in the cloud, and many companies are following that. But still, we need to be aware. We need to cautious before deploying our application on cloud. So I hope we will discuss a lot of things related to this,
Perfect.
and participants will be benefited.
Perfect. Perfect. So, Gaurav, Professor Gaurav.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Peddoju. Yeah, I agree with whatever description you gave to the whole landscape. I may contribute to a few things related to the security aspects which are cloud wide and VM instance specific, right? So there are a couple of things which differentiate between your off-site infrastructures and on complete public clouds, right? So maybe we can discuss specific aspects related to them as well, right?
Perfect.
Thanks.
So, Professor Bhuya, like, what the steps you think like are important in the context of securing the cloud operations and transactions?
Yeah, so given that this cloud environment is a massive scale collection of server that are interconnected, then not just server, the compute, the storage, and of course various type of storage levels. Then on which so we have users coming from all over the world in a public cloud environment, especially. So in this environment, scale at the infrastructure level, and then scale at the data level, and scale at number of users that are using it, and of course scale at which several services are offered on top of this cloud system. So we need definitely to look at security at each of these level. And then of course if you just pick up infrastructure itself, there are so many aspects of security there. So security of virtual machines, security of servers, then of course how do we partition, how do we ensure that they are not interfering with others. Sometime improper behavior of a user can affect performance of the whole system or even cause troubles. Plus we talk about scale. So when user requests are coming in, to serve the request at scale, a large number of users, the systems keep allocating resources dynamically. So here you might have a challenges like denial of service attack. So if you keep a denial of service, so system must be able to differentiate whether this is a legitimate request or a denial of service request. If not, what happens? The system is keep allocating resource because it is highly elastic and autonomic. So it end up wasting resources. So therefore, we need to consider this security aspect at all levels to make it make sense and to be able to deliver services that are of important and trustable and appreciable by end users.
Perfect. Perfect. That makes sense. So, Professor Sanjeet, you also want to throw some light on this?
Yes, I totally agree with Bhuya sir, whatever he told. I mean, we need to secure the data, and whenever we are using cloud, we need to check each and every level so that data is secure or not. Because data is not in our control, like we are outsourcing data to some third party. So here, like nowadays, it is not that we are debating on whether we should go for cloud or not. Now we are debating how best we can use cloud. That is what now we are debating. And whenever we are going to find out how best we can use the cloud, there are certain things sending our application to the cloud, before using cloud as our base. So two things I would like to highlight now. The first thing is like to whom we are giving access to our data. Like data is not in our control. We are giving it to the cloud, and in cloud also some people are managing them. So there are certain challenges that can happen, like those persons who are managing some people, some attackers or malicious people, they can do social engineering attacks on them or phishing attacks on them. So that also we need to keep track. Like the cloud service provider need to tell us in the service level agreement, like how personal data is being secured, or how it is they are providing security. The second thing is, because virtual machines are allocated to us, it may happen that the same virtual machine is shared by multiple tenants. It may happen. So what is the risk there? Like some people may store some personal information, and the cloud service provider should guarantee me that there will not be any illegal access from the other party to whom the cloud service provider has allocated the virtual machine. So these are some two aspects I want to highlight here, and later we will discuss few more.
Yeah, great, great, well said.
Yeah.
So, Professor Gaurav, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so fundamentally, if you see cloud security as a discipline, I understand this as a thin line between your traditional security and cloud security. We have one more actor coming in here, which is a cloud service provider. But I always think cloud computing is one additional layer to your traditional computing platform. So your end users are there, which are using your services, which are hosted in cloud. Then your users are there who are hosting their VMs in the cloud. These two are different things, and we need to see both of these user sets aspect differently. So CSP driven threats, people are discussing even since 2006, 2007, that there will be worries from what will happen if CSPs collude, what will happen if there are cloud wide attacks, what will happen if there are VM appliances which are got infected, right? So there are many of those concerns. Then there are newer concerns, as Professor Buyya rightly mentioned. There are threats like performance isolation, interference, co-residency attacks, and side channels on the hypervisor, which has multiple VMs being hosted in, right? One more comment on velocity and volume, right? If you are looking at the peak attack bandwidth since last, 1 decade or so, they're continuously rising. We have now reached to a point there where we are seeing around 1 Tbps to 1.5 Tbps of attack scale. Now we don't have any measurement to measure such attacks. We can also only do it post-attack, study, right? So if this is the scale of the attack which is coming in, and this is only possible because we are on cloud infrastructure, right? We have those many resources, right? So the scale is changing. Actors have increased, and players who contribute in terms of stakeholders, right, have also changed. Yeah, thanks.
Right, great, great. So, I mean, probably I'll continue the question to ask you again,
Yeah.
like, what steps do you think, like, we should take to detect such, like, attacks, and like, what are the potential mechanisms to solve these kind of issues?
Yeah. So I'll directly pinpoint to again fundamental notions of security. So first thing which cloud makes a little different from traditional infrastructure is access control. Who is given what access permissions? What are the users and what are the role assignments? Right. So if you consider a very big public cloud having 10,000 servers or more, having and running 30 to 50,000 of virtual machines of different owners, and it's a multi-tenant infrastructure, then, and if I consider as an example of infrastructure cloud, then it's a very big problem of assigning roles, assigning permissions, right? So access control is the primary thing. If you can handle it in a better manner, considering the trust issues with CSP, because that is a very tricky problem, right? Second thing which may help us in is logging and monitoring, right? So cloud-wide logging and then monitoring. So how much share is given to the VM owner and how much is in the control of CSP is another question. But if because logging may also have privacy issues, right? Because there is a lot of network traffic which is coming in, and it may reveal a lot of information, right? So logging, monitoring, access control, and then this SLA is a very tricky thing. We study this in the classroom, and we see SLAs of all major cloud providers. I see that most of the important points which we study in the papers are missing from SLAs, right? So secure exit, penalties, scaling, all these things are not there. They are only in the papers. So some
True,
of these
true.
points, right? Which and these are not single point agendas, right? These are continuous problems which are to be solved, right?
Agreed, 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 agreed. So, Professor Buyya, do you think, I mean, any other points to be covered under the same domain, like the potential risks and like threats in the
Yeah,
cloud?
so yeah, you know, so in case of infrastructure as a service cloud environment, obviously the user what they get is a virtual machine, and that virtual machine, the resources are actually managed by that user who created the virtual machine and who owns it. So here, of course, the infrastructure service provider need to guarantee that their administrator won't enter into your VM. So this is what some of these infrastructure service providers are guaranteeing. So you have to make that assumption. So if you don't make that assumption, then everything becomes more challenging. So with that assumption, let us say the virtual machine that you created, no one can enter in, not given their super users of that server cannot enter into yours. Therefore, it all belongs to you. Then in terms of access control, which Somani mentioned, so here. So this the one who created virtual machine is the one who decides who can access, because they should be able to. This is as good as a physical machine. So who have account access to this? So accounts. Of course, if they are running an application on top of it, that is the applicable service. Again, you need a access control for application level. So one of the easiest access control is the user application is someone who is paying for the services. Correct. So whoever is paying, they can access to it. But of course, here if application service is running, if the same application running multiple users, so either any interference of activities of one user on another. So this can happen actually. It can even hang the system. If the software is not well developed, if they're not well tested, they might enter in a parameter that will hang that application, because of which all other users also get affected, especially with a service offering. I think there are a lot of potential to create trouble for other users, not only
True, true.
themselves, but other users also. So therefore, how do we build even application that isolation? This not just the isolation at the VM level, but isolation at the application level. If it is built like a tightly coupled system, otherwise they probably have to make it loosely coupled. But if you make it loosely coupled, it become highly resource intensive. So for every request, if I create a new process, then it become too intensive. So generally, application may be tightly coupled. So that also means you have other challenges. The care with which the application need to be built. I think this introduces really a lot of challenges when you go to critical application where the service become very critical. Then if it is not designed very carefully, and if this error of one user is not isolated correctly, it can cause enormous difficulties, especially given that we are depending too much on cloud services for our activities.
Yes, yes. That's a good point you made. And the other aspect of this, like cloud, is the data and data storage and data management, right? and we often see data breach incidents in our cloud. So may I ask Professor Sanjeet to address if you have any thoughts towards that, like how to deal with data breaches in the cloud?
Yes. So, I mean, every day you will get news about data breaches and all, and you have many instances. And most of the time, we get to know about it, but sometimes people hide it. So, the first thing that, if you are a reputed cloud service provider, first thing that you should do is, as per my opinion, it is we should inform the data users. Rather, we should not think about the reputation of our company, but we should inform the users because it is their right to know. If you will go to GDPR or personal data protection bills, all these things, this is mentioned that you need to inform the user whenever there is a data breach. And apart from informing the users, now this data breach has happened. Now we need to see how we can stop it from next. And the solutions to these questions already mentioned by Professor Gaurav and Buyya sir mentioned this, like we will have to implement strong access control mechanism, identity and access management we need to do. Then most important is service level agreement. That plays a major role, like what are the things written in service level agreement, what are the services they want to provide, and how they will do. Apart from this, even if data breach happens, like one more thing that we need to see is, because we are discussing scalability, like what is the backup plan, like where the data backup is stored, all these things, like whether we can provide data from there or not, even if data is lost. So these things also we need to consider while there is a data breach.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's a great point. We need to deal with the data breaches, and maybe I'll ask Professor Gaurav again. DDoS attacks are also very important, according to my understanding, right? So, do you have any thought process towards that? How we can deal with such DDoS attacks, and what sort of research experience you have towards that?
Okay, yeah. So see, DDoS have been a popular, cyber threat since I guess more than 2.5 decade now, right? Starting from very small peak bandwidths to reaching, as I said earlier, 1.5 to 2 Tbps we are reaching, right? And the sophistication, flavor, attack scale, the type of attack, DDoS has multiple flavors, right? So if you see multiple reports from most of these DDoS security players in the market, they would always suggest that the target has been shifted towards cloud services. Earlier, the targets were normal services, but I treat it differently, right? Actually, services have shifted to cloud, so target has also shifted towards the cloud. Now, the problem is when the DDoS is happening on, let us say one instance in a multi-tenant cloud, how it affects that service and who protects that service, right? Because CSP may employ some mechanism, and but we may require some additional mechanisms to do that. In the market there are multiple services which provide you DDoS as a service or security as a service from the cloud. So here the role of CSP becomes important. DDoS attacks come to victim, and DDoS attacks are, they may also originate from cloud, by what people call gray cloud site. But here there is one very important opportunity which cloud provides us, that stopping or detecting attack at the source from where it is originating, right? Because DDoS has a particular, basic issue of spoofing. A lot of spoofing happens, and any scale of attack, whether it is amplification, reflection, or any kind of flooding attack you take, they are originating from some place. So there are many security enthusiasts which are advocating about a collaborative solutions between cloud service providers, end users, ISPs. ISPs can play a very great role because they know from where the packets are originating and where they are going, because they are the key endpoints every country may have. If they share, if there is a collaborative framework, then the problems of major DDoS attacks can be solved. Now coming to the sophisticated DDoS attacks, which are very well planned and this focus on some resources, right? And they may be they may affect large number of services on cloud players, or they may affect only a smaller portions of services, right? So here again I come to that point of logging and monitoring. It's a continuous process, right? And the alert mechanism on logging and monitoring at such a scale may give us a lot of results, and statistical methods may help us there. In addition to this, DDoS, as Professor Buyya had already mentioned, becoming fraudulent resource consumption or EDOS attack, because you have so much, you have profound resources, right? Nobody is stopping you from buying more resources, but there are many DDoS attacks which may remain undetected. Like if lasting for a couple of days, because there is a lot of sophistication, you are not able to identify real sources, and you cannot just drop all the packets, right? Because many benign users are also coming up. In that case, what will happen? Would you be sustaining your pockets, because you need to pay for what you are using on cloud? So there's a lot of work happening in that area as well, where identifying the real attackers and identifying benign users is a research question. Yes.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
So, Professor Buyya, the same DDoS attacks might evolve from the VMs inside the cloud itself, right? Apart from the external attacks, there could be internal attacks. There could be VM level attacks, right? So, I mean, do you think we need to address that side also?
Yes, I know even the attacker themselves might rent resources in cloud to attack other clouds, or
Correct.
to attack services hosted within the same cloud itself. So if they know that these, for example, let's say a bank is hosting their banking transactions operation in say in Amazon cloud, and the attacker themselves can be insider. I mean, have a rent couple of virtual machine, and then create lots of requests. So there even ISP may not even come into play. Like so, Gaurav was mentioning about collaborating with ISP. So in this case, who is going to detect that these attacks are coming from internal? So then, of course, there should be way if they're coming from internal. So then, so he in this case, who has to shut them down? So only the ISP, I mean, only the cloud service provider, CSP can do that, not ISP. ISPs won't come into picture. That is all internal.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one. Then of course another one is if they're able to because it's a multi-tenant environment. If they have a big server with hundreds of cores, and then if multiple users are mapped to a specific server, so for example all of them are actually using same hardware resources. So if
Mm-hmm.
someone wants to just W, they can create lots of IO requests and keep that system so busy that
Exactly.
your system maybe not getting chance at all. So there are many ways to, just like if in a building, if there are a couple of people, so just to trouble you, they can blast sound, do so many things, correct? So you are in the
True.
same building, your room is the next one. So, so tomorrow you got an important meeting and you want to have a good rest. They will create so much trouble that you can't have rest. But similarly, those things can also
True.
occur
True.
within cloud environment.
So,
So
what are the
therefore, perfect isolation and management and quality of service based allocation, and then identify looking at their behavior. Are they causing trouble? This kind of noise to other people. So this requires quite a bit of advances in the OS level, other level, if this has to be really properly addressed.
So, but like Professor Bhuya, I have a concern here that, see, apart from the isolation side, I am also concerned, what are the chances that some misconfigurations of the system may also lead to some sort of attacks?
Yeah, misconfiguration means if they are provide if their hardware level security management, if that is not proper, then obviously people can sneak in and
Hmm.
take over your memory, your VM's memory as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So let's say you have a VM within which you have a very critical data, and then someone who enter into their hardware, they can somehow access your data as well. So yes, this misconfiguration so can be a challenge too.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So yeah, moving forward to Professor Sanjeet, I'm also having concern regarding uh, like third-party integrations, policy definitions in respect to cloud services and cloud implementations. So I mean these are really important because when you are dealing with large number of applications, right? These integrations are really important. So do you think we should think about designing certain policies or architecting something towards that?
Yes. While we are using cloud services, whenever we use APIs, it really helps us. Like we don't have need to write the entire code. We can get some APIs and we can get our service done. But whenever we are dealing with sensitive data, it may happen that some data will be leaked. So whenever we are dealing with API, whenever we are dealing with APIs, there are certain rules or standards that we need to follow. Like for example, if we are incorporating any APIs, then whether they are providing this or they are satisfying Federal Information Processing System standards or not. Like if you will see FIPS 140, this is a very good standard which provides details regarding the security measures that one should take. So whether those are satisfied or not, that we need to check. Then apart from this, one more very important issue is like where the encrypted data we are storing. Even if data stored, the keys that we are using for encryption, that should not be accessed by the API. Like the key that we are using for encrypting the data. We are telling that we will encrypt the data. Yes, that's fine. But the key that we are using, that should not be accessed by the API. So as a solution, we can tell that like let us keep the key and divide it into some parts, and few individual users will have the key, so that it is whenever we need to access the data, all the three need to collaborate and they need to access the data. So these are some of the one technique. There are many other solutions also
Fantastic.
available.
Nice, nice, nice. Thank you so much. And yeah, we are running out of time. So, Professor Gaurav, what other cloud-wise solutions we can think of, like mm, to deal with such attacks?
Okay, see, most of the solutions which are already available, right? They have been crafted again for cloud, right? It's mostly not very new knowledge, right? Because traditional aspects will always help us in understanding cloud as a new infrastructure and a new place where multiple actors play their roles, right? So now coming to specific solutions, as Sanjeet has already mentioned, role of third parties, right? Because we need to look at
Right.
CSP as also an actor, and we need to, because uh, SLA, third parties, right, and controls to VM owners. Because we are running out of time, so I'm summarizing
Mm,
this. These
yeah,
three key points may surely help us, right?
perfect, perfect. So, Professor Buyya, one last point from my end. Do you
Yeah.
think blockchain would boon this cloud security aspects?
Yeah, blockchain will help enhance trustability of services within cloud environment. So, for example, if yeah, these days this multi-cloud computing is also gaining quite popularity. So, if application services are hosted and across multiple clouds, so when you have certain data you want to analyze, especially real-time data coming from this Internet of Things applications, maybe targeted for healthcare application. So, if the data captured by IoT devices, say medical devices, and this data is going to various cloud resources, and then where this analysis is done, results come back. So in this case, when the results come back, the patient or user want to know, can I trust these results? This is very, very important. So,
True.
we collected the data and went there and a lot of processing happened. Then, if somebody tamper the results or tamper the data, then I might get a, result which is quite frightening. So henceforth, how can I enhance the traceability? So here, blockchain can be used to enhance traceability of services. So because if anybody has broken that data chain, for any reason, either just arrival or while going, so we can easily detect that oh, this is broken, therefore I can't trust the result anymore. So blockchain will have can play a very important role in such work of enhancing traceability of services.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much for excellent opinions towards how security and scaling of the issues, volume and velocity of the issues can be dealt with, different thought processes you have presented it. And thanks a lot for your presentation. And yeah, so there are a couple of questions because we have very short time. So from the audience also there are a couple of questions. Let's quickly address them. So Surendra Sharma is asking, like, I have a query regarding the driving concept of security. While traditionally security has focused mostly on control and configuration, however, with the cloud environment, how much of relative importance of proactive measures of monitoring and response has become relatively more important? So who would wish to answer it quickly?
I can add some points to it. So
Yeah, please.
definitely a dynamic approach towards managing security. So here it is not a static security. So this either infrastructure service provider or the application service provider. So they need to have a way to monitor activities, whether activities are happening as per the application, are there any suspicious activities, or someone is causing making so, I mean, performing so much of activity or operations which are seems like not normal or out of sync. So it is a responsibility at multiple level to measure how things are happening in a productive manner, so then accordingly respond. So that's very, very important. So this is
Yep.
something that the area needs advances, not just going from traditional security and put it here. So it is
Yep.
different environment.
Yep. Thank you so much. And Professor Gaurav, can you answer the next question? Like, how much of the importance of clearly detailing out the shared security responsibilities in the SLA while provisioning in cloud services?
Yeah, so somebody has to start this discussion very soon that there should be shared security responsibilities between CSP and the players who are owning VMs
Right.
there, right? This should start. This is my comment on this. Yeah.
So great. So I think we ran out of time now.
Yeah,
So
we actually
yeah,
ran out of
thanks
time.
Professor Buyya,
And
thanks Professor Sanjeet, and thanks Professor Gaurav for excellent
Thank you.
I like my opinions. Yeah, over
thank
to
you
you,
so much.
Niharika.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone. Yeah.
so much, Professor Satish, for moderating it, and thank you all the speakers. It was very insightful session, and thank you so much for sharing your rich experiences and knowledge. Uh, so thank you so much, and I think we are ready for next session. Thank you, Dr. Rajkumar. Thank you.
Thank
Fantastic,
you.
fantastic. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Professor Sanjeev. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.